All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you like excitement, if you like action, this week is the week for you in mortgage. We've got tomorrow, June 13th, 2023, the CPI number. CPI is basically inflation coming out. We've also got the Fed meeting tomorrow and Wednesday. Wednesday, the 14th, is actually when they come out and not only release their decision on whether they're going to pause, whether they're going to hike the Fed funds rate, whether they're going to cut. We all know they're not going to cut. It's going to be a pause or a quarter increase is really the only two things that are plausibly going to happen. These things are, in my opinion, and a lot of others, going to be dictated by what that CPI number says tomorrow. So pretty sure that thing comes out at 8:30 Eastern, so 5:30 for us here on the West Coast. I'll set my alarm. It's going to be a market mover. Like I've talked about here before, like I'm not saying that rates are going to move drastically, and I'm also definitely saying that we don't want them to move drastically, but it's going to be a little bit of rate relief and downward pressure on interest rates for those who are in the market to buy. If that CPI number comes in low, kind of allows the Fed to say, you know what, we're going to pause. And more important than ever, we talk about this, I think, every single time, more than what they do is what they say. So as far as how it's going to affect markets and mortgage interest rates, because they're going to come out on Wednesday and let's say they pause, everybody goes, okay, we expected that. They also have the press conference, and what is said in the press conference moves markets. We've seen it time and time again. So they'll talk about their future plans, what they plan to do with the Fed funds rate and interest rates. And depending on what the CPI number says, how the Fed reacts and how they talk about that and how they talk about moving forward is going to have a big effect on mortgage rates. So fire away any questions you have. It's been an interesting time to say the least. I've had more conversations with real estate agents. I've had more conversations with buyers. I feel like I'm closer than ever to the buying process. So I've got at the very least, a perspective from somebody who's in the business, working in the business all day, every day. For some periods of my mortgage career, I focused more on building a business and working on the business more than ever. I'm working in the business on the front lines, having phone conversations, talking to listing agents, helping getting offers accepted, talking about how many offers you got in. And I'll give you guys an update on how the market feels for a lot of you, I'm sure. I just got an email within the last couple hours. Price point is right about the average. First time home buyers in Sacramento and you know the surrounding counties, 500 to 600,000 is an entry level price. This one was right in there. Buyers submitted above ask. Great agent, well-written offer, had us follow up shortly after the offer was sent on a Sunday evening when they said the offers were due. Listing agent did a great job, and I know all agents appreciate this when they send a response to everybody. Just wanted to let you know, we received 16 offers. Thank you for your offer. We wish your clients the best. My sellers decided to go with another offer. It's tough out there for buyers. And the conversation I keep having with agents is we've got plenty of willing and able buyers. You know, I can show you a list of 100 plus pre-approved buyers that want to buy. They're in the market to buy. They're not going to buy just anything. And, you know, they're not necessarily, desperate to get in a contract in 2 weeks because they got a lease expiring, but they're in the market to buy. They're going to buy. Time will tell whether that's this week, next month, even next year, right? Some of our buyers that have bought in the past 2 months have been people we pre-approved back in. This is probably somebody looking to get pre-approved right now. Sorry, I can't talk right now. I never have this ringer on my watch. Let's turn it off. All right. A little do not disturb for 1 hour while I'm with my people here on YouTube. So it's a tough market. I'd love to hear from other people across the country. California is where we do a good amount of business, probably 50% plus. We've got a lot of current deals going on in Texas and Florida and Tennessee. I'm talking about my personal team. I've also got U Mortgage teams that I work with where I can refer you to one of 48 states. If you're New York or Hawaii, I've got a great broker referral for either of those two states. The other 48, I got you covered. Go to greatmortgagebroker.com if you want to connect there. But let's have some interactive. Let's have some conversation around what your market looks like, what buyers are saying and doing, what agents are saying and doing, because I'm genuinely interested. I'm just going to throw this up here real quick. Greatmortgagebroker.com. That's how you connect with me and my team. Hello from Lakeland, Florida. Thanks for joining, Kevin. Appreciate your continued support. While I'm waiting for some questions to trickle in, we've already addressed the big things that are coming this week, the things that can move mortgage interest rates, which is CPI coming out tomorrow, June 13th, the Fed meeting, which concludes on Wednesday, June 14th. And upon conclusion and coming out with their decision, hey, we're going to hike rates 25 basis points. Hey, we're going to stay pat and pause. With that comes the press conference. And the press conference is always where there is action. And when we get to wait and see how the market reacts to that, there's such action that I actually pull up my chart, which I've shown here before, which will give you real-time updates on what's going on with the 10-year Treasury, mortgage-backed securities, and all things mortgage-related. I wanted to pull up this just kind of as a reference point, just so people know. We're at an interesting time right now where in the past 2 weeks, I've had this conversation with a dozen realtors, mortgage professionals, and consumers alike. The fact that we're paying more for borrowing money, higher interest rates, cost of capital, higher mortgage payments, however you want to say it, it has sunk in. And if you think about it, if you look at this chart and you look back to, let's call it here, this is September of 2022, 9 months ago. It's actually September 12th. It just so happened to land there. So 9 months to the day where it was a tick below 6%, but for all intents and purposes, we have stayed between 6 and 7.5%. For most of that time, it was between 6 and 7%. The market, in my opinion, has become accustomed to these higher interest rates. What has been a challenge for people, and there's no reason to, sugarcoat it or dance around it, the challenge for people and for affordability is that in a normal market with normal inventory, this higher rate environment, which pushes down demand, would have, and some would say should have, reduced home prices because there's less demand and it costs you more on a monthly basis to buy the same priced home because of higher costs of capital. What has happened, though, is that we've gone from low inventory to even lower inventory. So demand came down, rates went up, but supply came down as well. So it's highly competitive especially at the lower price points. So the 15 offers, the example I just showed you, despite the mortgage payment being 25, 30% higher than it might have been for somebody 12 or 15 months ago, despite that, there's still 16 offers. There's still more demand than there is supply. And the thing that I want people to consider, and this is a great discussion, right? Chime in with whatever feedback you've got, whether you agree or disagree. There's no real end in sight. The Crash Brothers that try to point out foreclosure numbers that are, what did they point out? They pointed out the percent of homes vacant or the 14 million homes vacant. I don't recall. My buddy Mike Zuber shared it this morning. Little did they know that a lot of stuff is available on Google. And so you can look at historics and say, it's cool to say there's 14 million vacant homes, and this is going to cause mass supply influx because all these homes are vacant. They're going to hit the market. Well, the amount of vacant homes is lower than it's been in other times, 2010, being a reference point where I think Zuber showed it was 2 or 3% higher. But 14 million is not a big number. There's plenty of people with plenty of money to have a second home that is vacant, to have homes across the country that are vacant. So anyhow, it's interesting to think about, what if we don't ever get a big price correction that everybody's hoping for? What if rates come down to from current near 7% to 6.5 to 5.99? I'll tell you with absolute certainty what will happen to demand, because I talk about it all day, every day with hundreds of brokers at the very least. At the very least, the 350 brokers at UMortgage internally, the hundreds of friends I have across the industry, the hundreds of people that I'm in coaching groups with. We've already got a backlog of buyers on the sidelines, waiting, patiently waiting. They're going to buy, they want to buy. Limited inventory, the right house hasn't come along. Maybe they'd like it a half a point better. 6.5% rates come, 5.99 rates come. I promise you, demand increases. And the problem is, even if supply increases a little bit, it's not going to explode. And so we're going to see the same supply versus demand imbalance, which is going to mean the upward pressure on prices. I personally am with you, and I want downward pressure on prices. And maybe, like it is now, it's kind of a balance between the two, and prices stay flat. From the peak in some markets, May 22 to May of 23, home prices corrected, trended, like whatever word you want to use. There's some markets that saw 10, 15%. You could probably find some markets that saw 20% decline May of 22 to May of 23. And I think that might be it. It might be, okay, you got it. There's your correction, and it's over. And so when rates come down and prices flatten or even increase, there's going to be a lot of people who are waiting for home price correction, waiting for the sale on homes that might wait themselves into 5 more years of renting. So I guess that was a long-winded warning. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if you think I'm a complete idiot. I can take it. Trust me. I got thick skin. I'm in the mortgage industry in 2023, so I got thick skin. Gary Lee, thanks for joining. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate it. And I couldn't agree with you more. seems like a long-term bull run for new home builders. I'll tell you why new home builders went from a position of like, oh my gosh, people thought they were in trouble and they were going to have to fire sell, to really home builders, their market share continues to grow. They continue to do more and more in 2023 of the, limited home transacting that's done. Even limited, there's going to be 4.3 million homes transacted or something in 2023. It's always funny how people think that all of a sudden nobody's buying, real estate's on pause. People are always moving, people are always buying. It might not be 7 million. I like it too when some talking heads on TV that obviously don't follow this stuff are like, there's only going to be 4 million transactions this year. That number is usually 10 million. And I thought to myself, like, this person obviously doesn't follow this stuff. It's never been 10 million, ever, 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 ever has there been 10 million homes transacted in a single year. When we were booming and transactions were just going gangbusters, the number was 7, never 10, right? And so 4 million seems like a small number comparatively, like 40% drop, right? But 4.3 million homes will still be transacted. And the home builders portion of that, I don't know the exact numbers offhand, Gary, but it keeps increasing, and with good reason. They've got a captive market of buyers who want to buy, are willing to buy. The builders are able to solve the biggest challenge, which is affordability, where a builder goes, oh, hey, you don't like these new rates? It's not affordable? No problem. 700,000 is what we want for the house. We really only need 660, but let's sell it to you for 7. Let's give you 40,000 in concessions. With that 40,000, we'll buy down your interest rate. We'll prepay whatever they can do to solve that affordability piece. And truth be told, they're able to do some cool stuff around the mortgage. I'm a mortgage broker. I'm the competitor to the builder's lender. I will tell you, because it's honest, that with some builders and in some scenarios, you're going to be best off using the builder's lender. Not always. There's a lot of stuff around here, where I can beat Lennar Homes by 10 dimes. And you'd be well served calling Matt, the mortgage guy and team, and talking to us before using, Lennar's in-house. Again, greatmortgagebroker.com. Man, just seamless transition. It's beautiful. But the builders, in a lot of cases, can do, a seller, builder-funded 2-1 buy down, permanent buy down, whatever it is, to put you in a comfortable mortgage payment. And they get to, in this market with very limited inventory, a lot of people still want to buy. There's not a lot for sale. They can release it however they say fit. Like, they're controlling that, right? And so they're not going to list all the stuff they have for sale. They're not going to build and release, massive quantities of homes all at once, because they understand supply and demand. And so, I think they've also got some tailwinds of construction prices coming down. And so builders are in a good spot. And, as much as some people in my seat on the mortgage side would be anti-builder because of how they kind of steer the buyers towards their own in-house lender, builders are necessary, and builders are assuming a ton of risk by building in uncertain economic environments. And so I think that they should benefit and be able to have some wins, right? Especially when the biggest problem with the real estate market is lack of inventory. So build away, build more. A lot of people's only gripe would be build it more affordable, which isn't always going to land on the builder. It might land on the state or the city or the county regulation. If it costs you $100,000 to get started, it's going to be hard to build a home for $300,000, which would be deemed affordable, right? So anyhow, that's some of my thoughts on that. I appreciate your comment, Gary, and you're spot on. Like long-term bull run for new home builders, they're going to do really, really well in the next 12 to 24 as rates come down and it puts even more demand into the market. They've got a product that's desirable. Single family home. People want them. And we don't have enough of them. The stat that I've shared here before, that the 2010 to 2019 decade measured against other decades saw less home building than any decade going back to the 1940s. We built more homes in the US in the 1950s than we built 2010 through 2019. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to know that there's more people around. We got more people in the country in 2010 than we did in 1950. More household formations, more people looking for single family, yet built less. And I get it, right? We're coming off of the financial crisis, collapse, whatever you want to call it. So it was a tough time. Speaking of those 2-1 buy downs from the builders too, I looked at a few of those today. I structured a couple jumbo buy downs. Man, if you're buying a house and you have the ability, whether it's through a builder or whether it's through a seller, to negotiate 30, 40, 50,000 in seller credit, you can do some cool stuff. I just did a 3-2-1 buy down, which I think is just a really good looking loan structure for an investor client who's going to occupy one side of a duplex and rent out the other side. He's going to be 2.99% in year 1, 3.99 in year 2, 4.99 in year 3, and then 5.99 in years 4 through 30. Who knows where rates go? He might be in a position to refinance before he gets to year 4, but imagine getting into a mortgage where 1, your rate in year 1 is 2.99, pretty sweet. 2, it's seller funded, it's not out of your pocket, pretty sweet. 3, you've got a neighbor in this duplex that's paying a good chunk of your mortgage. Flash of light. Thanks for joining. Thanks for the comment. I appreciate you. Feels like builders of new homes and new cars want to get out of the low end for good and go more upscale. No cheap starter homes and no cheap compact cars. I mean, I get it in the housing industry, and I would, just venture to guess for cars, the cost of production has got to be more, right? Like the chip shortages or delays that we saw that caused, new and used cars to go up quite a bit. It's not easy to build a car cheap enough to put it on a lot for $15,000, right? So it makes sense that car dealers, like home builders, are going to be building stuff that's higher in price and ability to have some margin and make some money. For sure. The construction prices and stuff, like imagine being a new home builder. Imagine having to pay permit fees and, utilities, the sewer, the water, like all that stuff, being 60, 80, 100,000 in before you even pour your first concrete foundation. Not to mention the concrete's more expensive. Not to mention all the, materials for the home are more expensive. It's expensive. And, home builders, probably like any other business, when it costs more to get a burger and you're in and out buying them 20 million at a time or whatever it is, some of that translates to what the cost is on the menu. Same thing for home builders. So I've got a lot of stuff to get to. I like going live, but what I like more than anything is firing away, doing questions and answers. This will be a video that stays on YouTube. So if you're watching this and it's not live, it's on a replay, leave your comments down below. Who do you want me to interview? What do you want me to talk about? I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. That's always been the mission. Do what I can to help first-time home buyers, repeat home buyers, investors, make better decisions around home financing. So I'm going to cut this one short. If you want to connect with me and my team, we're more than happy to help. GreatMortgageBroker.com. That's where you find us. Thanks for watching. Till next time, we gonna see.